Hey everyone, today I'll be talking about Temptation of a Proper Governess, the Cameron books, or the Cameron Sisters Book 1 by Cathy Maxwell. It's originally published by HarperCollins in 2009. So basically the story takes place in England. It's a historical romance novel, probably what I'm guessing, somewhere in the mid to late 1800s. And basically involves this governess who's in charge of a 17-year-old girl. I don't remember the girl's name because she's only really mentioned in the beginning of the book, and they never refer to her after that in the middle or end, or she never comes into play again. So anywho, she the governess Isabel is walking around the house one night while the I'm not sure if it's a lord or earl or if it's even the same thing, but he's her employer is throwing like this huge party where everyone's gambling, everyone's drinking, and she's just walking around trying to figure out where this girl's at. She sees she's not in her room, so she has the idea she's with this guy who came from Canada. The guy who's from Canada was originally from England. He comes from like a wealthy family. His brother's an earl. He's not. But in his youth, he was accused of murder, but he was later acquitted of it. But since his name was tarnished, he went to Canada, started trade business, became super wealthy, came back to England to try to basically clear his name. So Isabel's trying to find the girl she's in charge of, the 17-year-old, because she's been known to be kind of like boy crazy. She's been caught in bad positions before, and Isabel doesn't want to be fired or anything, so she's trying to find him. Eventually, she does find him in the said room of the man I mentioned who was accused of murder. His name is Michael Severson. And but he's not in the room. But she opens the door and sees her laying there, naked. And basically what the 17-year-old girl wants to do is get caught in a compromising position with Michael, and that way um, he would have to marry her because of society's dictations, because he's super wealthy, I guess, good looking, and whatnot. So she wants to try to catch him. Well, Isabel comes in there, berates her, has her and like the housemaid to come get her out, and she locks her in the bedroom. And when the 17-year-old girl is fighting with Isabel, saying, well, it doesn't matter because I left my bracelet in there and they're going to think I was in there anyway, so he'll have to marry me. So Isabel feels bad and she goes to this guy's room to get the bracelet. And that way he won't be forced to marry her or, but be put in a bad light. So she goes in there. And that's when Michael's in there too. And really out of nowhere, they start like kissing and stuff, are getting like they're instantly attracted to each other. And it kind of throws you off because up till now, you never, Isabel doesn't really strike you as one to just like go in the moment, and all of a sudden she just sees this guy and does without like, it seems like a huge shift in personality to me. I mean, it's funny. It's like this book is very like typical romance. Like it plays to all the tropes of historical romance novels, and yeah, it's a little cheesy from time to time. Anyways, so uh, the her employer busts in and so like, what are you doing with my daughter and everything? And that's when Michael, the accused criminal, and he's also into trade, realize he's been set up. He gets mad. He's Isabel's like fired at the spot. They give her one night, but she has to leave in the morning. So she goes back to her room, and Michael doesn't know what to do. So Isabel's back in her room. She's packing up. Michael feels bad and comes back and says like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was going to happen. Why were you even there?" And he tries to tell her what happened. There's a lot of back and forth, but eventually she does tell him about her employer's plan with the daughter to try to marry her off to him since he has money, since he has a little bit of prestige, even though his name is tarnished from the murder. Well, anyways, she decides to leave, and since he compromised her, he feels obligated to marry her. But then there's someone else in the party who likes Isabel, and him and Michael talk, and he finds out that she's related to one of the people that basically was involved with the murder. And Michael's like, well, if I marry her, I can basically get to this family or to these other people to figure out who really murdered this girl. And oh, I guess I kind of digressed. So the girl who he was accused of murdering was a girl who had a number of different uh, boyfriends and everything, and people thought he killed her because of a jealous rage because she liked another guy. This was about, I'm gonna say 20 years before the novel actually takes place, but he claimed his innocence. The judge didn't find him guilty, and that's how he wound up in Canada later on. But then he eventually came back after a while. Um, so he finds out she's related to these people. He talks her into marriage. Basically, she agrees. She comes from being very shy, introverted, stern, into just like that's how she's described. That's how her character, like just the way she talks and everything, except by her actions, she's very spontaneous, very oh, this is this is I'm just going to do this and this is how it's going to be. So, they go to this different town, they get married, and everything's all right for a while. And then I'm trying to figure out how to put this. So they go to London. They go to London, and he's starting his shipping business, doing like the administrative side, and he's trying to figure out this who got him in trouble, basically, who accused him, how this all led up, who really murdered the girl about 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And Isabel finds out they have a huge fight. She realizes that her marriage is in shambles, that her life's nothing but despair, and basically they fight back and forth, and characters come and they go, why this all happens, and Then there's attempt on Michael's life, and Isabel's like, oh, what am I to do? And uh, basically she gets closer with him after the attempted murder, and basically they go solve it together. That is the gist of the book. I don't know if I summarized that very well, but there's a lot going on, and I don't want to read the whole book to you, so I was just trying to give the brief summary for the review. Um, it's your typical romance novel. Sometimes the characters are very well thought out, but sometimes they go into spurts of two-dimensional. Like, oh, these characters are very generic. Um, you don't feel one way or another about them. It's just something that's happening. It's a very light read. It's nothing too serious or um, like something you really have to think about. I would say the story is a lot more better at the beginning of the novel. Like within the first 50 pages or so, the story's like more serious, more well thought out, but then as it goes on, it just kind of gets cheesy, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it was still a good story. I wasn't expecting much from it, but it started out better than how it ended or the middle part of it, which was a little weird. I never really, usually sometimes more books pick up in the middle than at the beginning, but this book was like straight off from the beginning, and then it just kind of meh. Would I recommend it? If you like romance novels or historical romance novels, I'm sure you're familiar with Cathy Maxwell. So, yeah, I would recommend it, but if you're not, this isn't something I would recommend to anyone starting off in historical romance novels. I would probably recommend other books than this one. As for apparently this one's a series, I don't see how because it was like start to finish and I don't know who's going to get added later or if it's just like something where there's a common theme and it's just different people each time in the series. I do plan on reading the second novel of this series, but probably not anytime soon, like in the near future. Um, There's like a lot of mention of God and religion in this, which is a little bit, I guess it's a little bit funny because like there's sex scenes and stuff and and hmm, and it talk basically it goes on into like very religious tones, very prim and proper, very conservative views, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's it's odd because some of the scenes are very graphic and everything, and there's like one in a stagecoach, or I'm not sure if that's the right word, where a scene takes place of that. But then in like the next, it talks like, oh, well, if the Lord will do this and the God brought us together and everything else, then I don't know. It made me laugh a few times. Honestly, this book made me laugh a lot more than it probably was intended to. Um, yeah, it was a very, I don't know. Unless you're really into romance, I wouldn't recommend this. I just wouldn't. But I did get a few laughs. It wasn't, I don't feel like it was time wasted. It's something I do enjoy from every now and again. It's nothing deep, but I do enjoy books like this once in a while. Uh, so yeah, there's a odd relationship between sexuality and religion in this book. The story starts off strong, but kind of ends up weak towards the end. Um, Only if you really like romance, I would recommend it. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of my review for this book. Uh, let's see, what I'm still currently reading. I'm reading Fire and Fury by Michael Wolff, the one about inside the Trump White House that was on the news for a while. I'm also reading The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, which hopefully I should be done with that pretty soon. And I can get up a review for that. And since usually I read 3 books, the next book I'll be reading is actually a book, like not electronic format. And I have this one now right here. It is out of print book that I got. I seen it online and I'm like, I tried to find it for the Kindle, but then I couldn't. And I wrote, I don't know, I think it was the cover or the story. I don't know. Here, I'll show you the book. Here it is. Beyond the Bedroom Wall by Larry Woiwode, I want to say. And honestly, it's basically a family anthology for the like different stories that take place within this one family that lives in North Dakota, and it's over the period of 4 generations. And this book is like thick because um, I live in Texas, but my grandmother recently has taken ill, so I'm going to go visit her in Ohio, and I guess I've been missing my home state a little bit, and honestly, the reason I got the book too, is because the cover, even though it's North Dakota, kind of reminds me a lot of Ohio. So, and I wanted something thicker to read since I'm gonna be there for a few days, and I'm not sure if I really want to bring my Kindle or anything with me there. So, yep, I'm hopefully everything goes well with my grandmother and everything, and hopefully I doubt I'm gonna finish all this while I'm there. But it gives me some time to read and go back to the traditional books for a little bit. So, yep, that's pretty much it. Hopefully I'll be posting new videos sometime in the near future. I'm not too sure. Work's still been pretty busy and just everything has been hectic, but I do thank you guys for watching and hope to see you next time.